Welcome to our roundup of rounds 7 to 9 of the Women's World Cup. Well, there's no doubt which has been the team of the year. Nederland Bloeit, and two women have dominated the entire World Cup series. Annemiek van Vleuten, 29 years of age, who has led the World Cup for 2 rounds and looked happy throughout it. She's not the only one in contention for the overall title, though. Former World Cup winner and world champion Marianne Vos, she's also held the leader's jersey. Whereas Van Vleuten has won a single round, Marianne Vos has won 3 by the time we go into round 7 in Sweden. Here then to Vårgårda in Sweden, and this year it's bright sunshine for the exhibition Team Time Trial. Spirits are high and the UCI officials are out checking all the bikes are within the rules. Interesting that these new split anatomic saddles are being used by a lot of the teams. This Team Time Trial gives national squads and more local squads a chance to compete against the world's very best in this most technical of disciplines. And it was the Swedish national team that led the charge off the ramp. 4 riders must get home to record a time, and the Swedes out first of all on the road in bright sunshine. Such a marked contrast to last year when the weekend was marked by heavy rain, especially on the road race day. Australia, always very strong, and as a national team they've done extremely well in the road racing, and Team Time Trial is a discipline they can excel at. Expect them to be quite high up in the overall standings. It's a very technical discipline, time trialing. It's not as easy as just rolling through and taking your turn on the front. You have to be well marshaled, well disciplined, and have to practice. The German team, always some of the leaders in technique and of course in kit as well. Very well disciplined as the lead rider peels off, and the next one just increases the pace very slightly to go through. If you don't know how to ride Team Time Trials, it can get very ragged very quickly. It's a good discipline and a good exercise to get your teams out in an event like Vårgårda. And there is an exhibition in itself of terrific Team Time Trialing. Look at the way they move from front to back. The AA Drinks Leontin NL squad with Kirsten Wild as probably their most prominent time trialist, expecting to turn in a very good time here in Vårgårda. And the Swedish crowd's out in reasonable force even to watch the Team Time Trial, which is always good. Shows that cycling is still on the up. High-tech products may be led by Emma Johansson, the Swede, but she's not the only star in the team. That is Lisa Brennau, the former junior world time trial champion, and she'll add her technique and weight to this squad. Of course, their team leader, Emma Johansson, will be wanting to do very well in her home weekend. 1 car allowed to follow the team, and they don't get too much of a chance to practice this discipline. The world time trial champion Emma Pooley leading the Garmin-Cervelo ladies team here. Again, a team that does very well in the time trial, but usually a little bit better in the individual time trials than the team time trial. This will be an interesting exercise for them. Emma Pooley at the back there in the World Championship bands. It's essentially a big loop, and out and back almost. HTC HighRoad women's team straight off the ramp very quickly indeed, wanting to get into this one, and amongst the top 3 favourites for this event. And you can see one of the Cervelo riders already dropped, and off the ramp go the Nederland Bloeit team with Marianne Vos in the World Cup leaders skin suit. An excellent time trialist herself. Look at the low position she gets, but looking a little bit ragged as a unit. Has some terrific aerial shots here from Vårgårda. The sun out and really helping. Quite a technical section here. 2 or 3 right hand, left hand 90-degree bends running through the middle of the town. And the crowd's pretty good. The Lotto team going through Not looking as though they're quite disciplined enough, looking around to see where they're going. And this is the Cipollini team, already down to 4 riders. This is the team, of course, of former world champion from Varese and Olympic champion until certainly next year anyway, Nicole Cook. And back with High-Tech again. They're down to 5 members in the squad. They have to finish with 4, remember, Emma Johansson's team. 5 also for the Garmin-Cervelo squad, including Emma Pooley. There in the World Time Trial bands. And Pooley, a terrific time trialist. She spins those pedals very fast indeed. Not the most graceful of style, but certainly gets the pedals moving. Was a British time trial champion as well last year. And the remaining 5 members of the squad, nice and tightly disciplined. But look at HTC HighRoad here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members still. And looking very, very good indeed. Great positioning. And this is a discipline this team have practiced long and hard at. Long pull at the front here. And there's a wonderful helicopter shot showing just how it should be done. Slight breeze from the left-hand side. You can see them spreading out across the road in an echelon, taking the wind on the left-hand shoulder. Back with Nederland Bloeit. And Vos leading them through. And looking ragged, as we said. Certainly should be a little bit tighter and more disciplined than that. And I think they're having a little bit of trouble. All back together for the moment. But you should be able to see one nice long line. This is the AA Drinks team coming in. That's a great time. It's 54.46. Will Garmin-Cervelo be able to match it? They've been struggling to hold the pace. A little ragged towards the line. Emma Pooley driving hard. But it's 54.52 outside of the time of AA Drink Leon 10LL. Well, this is HTC HighRoad. They've been looking good all the way through. Look how tightly compact they are as they come over the line, cruising over almost on a fabulous time of 53.02. Meanwhile, Marianne Vos's team outside of the top 4 even. Australia taking the 4th spot. 54.53 was the Australian time. So HTC HighRoad take the win. 53.02, a brilliant ride by the HTC HighRoad squad. AA Drink Leonton NL take the 2nd spot and Garmin-Cervelo 3rd. Here's confirmation of that. Australia with 4th, Nederland Bloeit 5th, slightly disappointing. Then Russia, High-Tech, Germany, Lotto Honda and the Cipollini squad. The rankings remain the same. There are no points given for the team time trial to individual rankings in the Women's World Cup, so Marianne Vos will go into the next round as leader. And so to the second half of the Vargada weekend. It's the road race. The Lotto team signing on in bright sunshine, which makes a change from last year when the rain pelted down on this course. Garmin-Cervelo being presented, the British champion there. Second from the left is Lizzie Armistead. Also a Swedish national team being involved in this race. They'll really want to do something, as will Emma Johansson, because the big question is, with 2 Nederland Bloeit riders at the top of the table, can anybody break the stranglehold of the Dutch team? Away they go then. 12 laps of 11 kilometres circuit, 132 kilometres in total. And rolling out of the start, this well-organised race. Largely flat, there's a couple of bridges and one small slope. It's very difficult for anybody to get away unless you get a very fast group. You have to accelerate extremely quickly to get away. And the peloton can reel you in at will if they so choose to do. Here is the bridge that I mentioned. And here's the small hill. Fassa Bortolo. Ladies team in the blue and orange on the front doing some policing work. Also you can see Garmin-Cervelo up towards the front and HTC HighRoad. All the big teams trying to stay at the front. Interestingly that High-Tech Products aren't up here. Emma Johansson's team. The Russian team is towards the front, but maybe Emma knows something that the rest of them don't. Final rider in the peloton here, representing the Netherlands. Very difficult to get away. But here along this flat section by the industrial estate, you can see 3 or 4 riders trying to make the break, but you really have to time trial to get away. Often a headwind can be easier to get away in than a tailwind, funnily enough. In this case, the peloton not too bothered about chasing on, and not much wind in the background either. 5 or 6 riders tried to get away, but eventually 2 riders did. They were number 155, Jessica Kilboom of the Ericsson Go Green team, and Madeline Zandig, representing Germany at the front. Number 176. Zandig, a very good rider. And with the Swedish rider in the breakaway, they were trying to build up a decent lead, but it's difficult, as I say, to get away here. Emma Pooley on the left-hand side of your screen, the diminutive rider in the black and white with the blue helmet for Garmin-Cervelo. And some of the Nederland Bloeit riders coming around the outside of the peloton. Clearly they've been at the back for some reason and trying to move up. Judith Arndt keeping the pedals turning. And that is the Cipollini team of former world champion Nicole Cook. Top Sport Vlaanderen represented here. And a small group managing to get itself together here. This is a 7-woman breakaway that is trying to make some sort of difference and get away from the peloton. There indeed is Nicole Cook in this group. Also Eleonora van Dijk of HTC HighRoad. Iris Slappendal of Garmin-Cervelo. Irene van den Broek of the AA Drinks Leonton NL team. Oksana Kozunchuk of Russia. Regina Bruins of the Netherlands. But most interestingly, Annemiek van Vleuten of Nederland Bloeit, lying second overall in the World Cup standings. And if anybody wants to do anything about this woman here in your shot, Van Vleuten, they're going to have to work very hard in the peloton. But this is a strong breakaway group. Iris Slappendal been doing very, very well in the last 2 or 3 rounds. Strong rider. But it is Van Vleuten who's pushing the pace along. She knows she's got everything to gain by being here. Oh, bit of a crash. Just a couple of riders coming together. One of the riders from the Australian squad, and that's caused a bit of a break here. Have to work to get back on. And just goes to show how difficult it is to get away. There is the peloton in the background, as you can see, and our breakaway of 7 riders, although they're being driven on relentlessly by Van Vleuten, they're really not getting away. Regina Bruins comes through to take her turn at the front, and look at her hanging right on the back here at the moment, really chewing the handlebar tape is Nicole Cook. It's really hard work getting away in this type of a situation. There's not many places where you can spring a surprise. There's no wind to aid you. Nothing at all. It's nice to see the locals turning out. A little support for the women's racing. And the peloton beginning to speed up because we're coming towards the closing stages of this race in Vargade, and they do not want to leave these riders up ahead. They sense a victory coming for a sprinter. And it'll be HTC HighRoad who start to move towards the front for Aina Joko-Teutenberg. And now the Swedish team pushing forward, and a couple of high-tech riders in here as well, trying to shut down this gap. It's beginning to fracture at the front of the peloton under the pressure of trying to bring these riders back. Cook goes through. They're working well together, through and off, bit and bit. A rider gets to the front, takes their turn in the wind, and then peels off, and the next one comes through. Cook does her turn, allows Regina Bruins to go through. This is the final lap coming up for our breakaway of 7. Just to remind you who they are, Van Dijk of HTC HighRoad at the back. She's going to do very little work, Van Dijk. She's a good sprinter herself, but remember, she's got Aina Joko-Teutenberg lurking behind. Annemiek van Vleuten of Nederland Bloeit. Iris Slappendal of Garmin-Cervelo. Nicole Cook of the Cipollini team, Kozunchuk of Russia, and Regina Bruins is the last rider in the break for the Netherlands. And it's Kozunchuk who leads them up the hill. Schlappendel is just behind, but coming around the final corner, they're almost on them, the peloton. And they're just going to have to sprint away. It's everyone for themselves now. It looks like Annemiek van Vleuten has the legs. Van Vleuten takes the win. And once again, Nederland Bloeit dominate the race. She did all the early work to establish that breakaway. And when they were caught by the remnants of the peloton, she went away again.
Yeah, now my teammate said into my ear, we are on 100 meters. So I thought, oh, this is the moment. And I was in the second last corner. Yeah. I thought, yeah, I now have to go because otherwise we are chased back. And then I went. Yeah.
7 points ahead of...
Well, she went exactly the right time. She knew she had to do it. And in the process, as well as taking the win, she takes back the World Cup leader's jersey from her teammate Marianne Vos. It's all to play for as they go into the final round. Here are the results then. Annemiek van Vleuten wins ahead of Eleonora van Dijk and Nicole Cook taking third. Teutenberg getting fourth, missing out on the sprint. And so to the rankings after round 8. Van Vleuten leads by a slender 7 points over her teammate Marianne Vos. Emma Jansson is third on 212. And so it's come down to this, the final round of the Women's World Cup. This is the Grand Prix Plouay in France. This is a very tough race indeed. Last year won by Emma Pooley at a country mile stretch. But this year, Emma Pooley's had more than she's wanted to contend with in the shape of Marianne Vos and Annemiek van Vleuten. One thing is for certain, one of those two riders will win the World Cup. It's 2 races apiece and it'll go down to the wire for Van Vleuten and for Vos. There is Van Vleuten in an early break, wanting to capitalize on her strength that she's held over from the last round in Vargada. 5 riders getting away from the peloton, and now 4 because Emma Pooley, at about 50 kilometers to go, has gone away from her compatriots. The first break in the race was made by her teammate, actually, Sharon Laws, and she was joined by Erinne Willock of the Tibco team. And then Pooley, along with the World Cup leader, Van Vleuten, got across to them. And now Pooley has gone one of her long trademark attacks. This is the teammate of Van Vleuten. It's Marianne Vos. I just wonder what the team talk had been before the start of this race. It must be everyone for themselves, I would imagine. It depends who gets into the best position towards the end of the race. One thing is for certain, they are a very well professionally drilled team by Jeroen Blijlevens, the former sprinter, right for TVM. He is the director sportief for Nederland Bloeit, and he will tell them that whichever rider is in the best position, the other rider must support them. Oh, that's great riding by Marianne Vos. She's come across to the 4 riders here. Chantal Blaak from the AA Drinks Leonton NL team. Evelyn Stevens, the American rider for HTC HighRoad. She's gone straight to the front past teammate Annemiek van Vleuten. Chantal Blaak taking a pull on the front as well. But Pooley is beginning to struggle, I think, a little bit. Maybe not in as good a form as we have seen her in the past. And it looks to me as though she's going to be caught pretty quickly. The 4 riders behind were not making too much of an impact until Marianne Vos arrived. And they're now eating into that advantage for the British rider Emma Pooley, riding for Garmin-Cervelo. It's a very, very tough course this, and it's very hot today as well. Pooley going on one of those long-ranging attacks. This is Evelyn Stevens. Pooley has been out for a long time, and Stevens knows that if she takes Annemiek van Vleuten, and more importantly, Chantal Blaak and Marianne Vos towards the line, she will be out sprinted. Trying to use her strength on the hills, to get away from her remaining escape companions. But that is a very brave move, considering how strong the rest of the team are behind her. Look at this. This is Van Vleuten driving it along. In the middle, in the blue and black, is the Tibco rider Willock. At the back, Chantal Blaak just hanging in there. She realizes that there are two big leaders in this group, Van Vleuten and Vos, and they are going to work hard because they need to fight it out or have to decide the World Cup between them. And so Chantal Blaak and Willock, Erinne Willock, can just sit there and let these two riders do their job. They've brought back Evelyn Stevens, so one of the dangers has been neutralized for the moment. This is a fascinating interplay between riders in the same team. Meanwhile, Emma Pooley, now her lead has been cut down to 30 seconds. She had about 1 minute and 50 over the chasing riders, who in turn had 1:46 over the peloton. So a brilliant job being done by Marianne Vos to get into this little breakaway, to ride across the gap. Just shows how strong she is. To ride one person across the gap is very, very hard indeed, especially when the breakaway is made up of such good riders. Vos is really working hard driving this one along. And the woman who's benefiting mostly at the moment is that woman there at the back. Annemiek van Vleuten, teammate of Marianne Vos, leader of the World Cup at the moment. Vos, the Dutch national champion and a former world champion, of course, in all disciplines. And Van Vleuten, she must be thanking her teammate at the moment, who's doing this tremendous amount of work on the front. Turn after turn after turn. The others behind her are doing very little, and she's shut down that gap on Emma Pooley. It was 30 seconds. It must be about 5 or 6 now, and the British rider is going to get caught. And this feud that goes on the road between Emma Pooley and Marianne Vos as to who is the best all-rounder is continuing, and Vos today seems to have the upper hand because she shut that right down. There's no gap at all. It's all over for Emma Pooley. The catch has been made. The question now is, will Pooley be able to hang on? She's done so much work by herself. Equally, though, has Marianne Vos got the strength to continue on at the front? They're all back together then, 6 riders now. Pooley is caught. Vos, Willock, Blaak. Also in here, Stevens, and Stevens goes on the left-hand side. Who's going to respond? It's the whole of them. They all know that Stevens must not be allowed to get away, but it's Van Vleuten who's taken up the challenge, and Chantal Blaak on the wheel. Those two riders had a little bit of an easier ride, because Marianne Vos has done a lot of the work. And that's fairly standard tactic for a team with 2 riders in a breakaway. But in this case, it's all about the World Cup. Who is going to win? Evelyn Stevens has gone away, and she's taken with her Van Vleuten. Now, this is where the team tactics come in. Willock has got to do the riding because Vos won't do it. Coming into the finishing straight, it's a straight sprint. Van Vleuten has the upper hand on Stevens. That was always going to be the case if it came down to a sprint. So brilliant riding by Van Vleuten. She latched onto the wheel of Evelyn Stevens and could not be dislodged. She is the World Cup winner. 2 wins in 2 races for Annemiek van Vleuten makes her the World Cup winner for 2011. 3 wins to her name in this season. That is a brilliant result. She takes the World Cup for the first time after 5 years as a professional rider. Before she became a professional, she studied animal science and she used to play football. But she takes the World Cup, and Nederland Bloeit are absolutely dominant. GP Plouay then, won by Van Vleuten ahead of Stevens and Vos. Chantal Blaak took 4th, Willock 5th, and Emma Pooley coming in 6th place, trailing by 1 minute and 6 seconds. So in the final rankings, it's Annemiek van Vleuten with 362 points ahead of Marianne Vos with 315. 3rd place goes to the luckless Emma Jansson. But no doubting who deserves the World Cup this year. With 3 wins to her name, it's Annemiek van Vleuten, champion of 2011.
Are you ready?
UCItravel.com. UCItravel.com, your ultimate cycling travel partner.